Divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of any national government and cling to names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah, who warned my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind of their forefathers, divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to their free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine and national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine right unmolested by other citizens, and they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under the granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into the light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that make a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling upon all true citizens to stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I'm depending on your I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution for the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If the Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word color deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by the nations of the earth. The nations of the earth that are recognized by the said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendment brought the South and Union, brought the North and South in union, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost. and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in these lands. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by my citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin, which is being committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South, and I have examined conditions there. And it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things that bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me bring my people out of the darkness into the marvelous light. From the Prophet, Islam. Let me greet everybody that came in when I was reading here. Brother Eunice Bay, peace and love. Larry Bay, peace and love.
Peace and love, peace and love.
Check the chat here. Oh, Islam, I'm glad you off lockdown, brother, man. Uh, yeah, man, stay strong in there, man. You gonna be out pretty soon, man. Uh, so I had this marked up on the divine warning, this stuff in red right here, and it wasn't the scope for today, but it just triggered my mind. Just for a recap, we're talking about 1774. Once again, the Constitution wasn't around to 1789 for the United States, right? They declared their independence July 4th, 1777, 76. So this is before that. So once again, last week we went into what the prophet was talking about, um, their articles of association. And when you read that document, you see what the United States is at this time. They weren't even the United States. They weren't doing business as the United States of America yet. What were they called? The colonies of New England. Before the DBA, the United States of America, doing business as, they were called New the colonies of New England, the United Colonies of New England, because these were English and British subjects. So keep this in mind. Why is the prophet talking about this document? Because in that document, it's distinguishing who is who. And in that document last week, we talked about how they were reaching out to King George, the brutish Moor, saying, man, these quote unquote, the natives, they keep attacking us. They don't like us. I thought we had protection under the crown. What's going on? All right. So that's one thing that to show once again why he's saying the 14th and 15th Amendment is not necessary for the salvation of our people, because we're not the Pilgrim crew. We're not the New England crew. We were the people already here, what they're calling the natives, which we know their higher ups dealt with our Sultan, Sidi Muhammad, Sultan Moulay, specific sultans, 1780s. Got international relationship with other brutish Moors, our cousins that were just Christian Moors, which allowed these pilgrims to come in here. So I just want to emphasize that, but that wasn't the scope for today. Um, so when we first got on here, a couple of the brothers was talking about the divinity and how things is divine, and how when you understand things is divine, you're going to gravitate to divine things. People that are divine are going to gravitate to you because it's a certain polarity. Now we're getting back to the science of what we're talking about, hermetic. What is more? What's the religion of the Moors? Because remember, if we create a religion, that means the culture was first. So what's the culture of the Moors? What's the culture of the ancient people? The seven hermetic principles. The seven hermetic principles bleed in to the forefathers of all these religions. We're talking about Abraham, in Christianity circles. Any head of any culture, even Prophet Muhammad, people that are Muslim, it's Abraham in the Quran. So what we're about to get in today is we're gonna see who Abraham learned from. Who was Abraham's master teacher? And what he got taught, he taught to his people or his followers. So we want to get to the true intention of what these teachings are supposed to be about, no matter what religious creed. We're gonna get to the origin to unite it all. We want to unite all this to get to the Gnostic source, right? And get out of the dogma. So let me continue here. Whoever is not familiar with Tahuti, Thoth, um, essentially, we're gonna go into it, but essentially, whenever a European is talking about ancient Egypt as it pertains to our people, we clearly know that's not the Middle East. If we're talking about dynasties, sultans, Nefertiti, anything in that space, we're talking about the Moorish Empire in America, which we'll get into. But when you're talking about our people in these timelines, Tahuti, Thoth, all these glyphs, we're talking about master teachers that have been packaged in a way to symbolize what they're known for. So we're talking about Tahuti. That's where you get the concept of Zhu, but it was also a master teacher in a civilization that was responsible for creating astronomy, the several liberal arts, in a curriculum form, you know. So it's like paying homage in a way. So that's another way to look at Zhu as well. So let's get into a little bit of Tahuti, Thoth. So here's a visual. But I want to start off the demonstration by going to another book, which is called Hermetic Reiki. That's a reference point. Whoever is interested in going more in depth in this book, because I'm not going into it full in scope, but this book is called Hermetic Reiki. And we all know what Reiki is, right? Trying to find balance within with the breath work, amongst other things, right? But Hermetic Reiki is this particular book. So what I wanted to highlight in this book, Hermes, which we know also Thoth, also Tahuti, what is he responsible for? However, he really was a prolific writer and renowned teacher. Works attributed either to Hermes or his teachings include the Corpus Hermeticum, the Book of Thoth, Emerald Tablet, the Torah. Wow, when I highlight the Torah, he's responsible for influencing the principles in the Torah. The principles in the Torah are hermetic. What's the Torah? The first 5 books in the Bible, right? So our Christian brothers are supposed to be in harmony with what we're getting into today. That's the foundation I'm laying down right now. All right. So when we're talking to our Christian brothers and sisters, family members, etc., let's talk to them with a level head and explain. Let's go into the book. Let's go into have Bible study with our brothers and sisters in this fashion. All right. So let me continue here. So now I'm transitioning to a book called The Kabbalion. Most people should be familiar with that. I'm referencing from The Kabbalion. But among these great masters of ancient Egypt, so we're just talking about America, all the pyramids that's in Mexico, Peru, talking the America, We've already talked about this in other classes. Most of us should already know, right? We're talking about the Moors in America because the Middle East was not created. But let me continue. But among these great masters in ancient Egypt, there once dwelt one of whom masters held the master of masters. This man, if man indeed he was, dwelt in Egypt in the earliest days. He was known as Hermes Trismegistus, also known as Thoth, also known as Tahuti. So don't get lost like these are different people. He was the father of the occult wisdom, the founder of astrology, the discoverer of alchemy, transmutation. The best authorities regard him as the contemporary of Abraham. So if he's the contemporary of Abraham, Abraham learned from him. He's the student of his philosophy. So anybody, any Muslim, Christian talking about they pro Abraham and they don't want to be hypocrites, let's let them know what Abraham principles is about. So we can get our Christian and Muslim brothers in harmony. Because they just got taught wrong by the middleman. This is what we're here as the Moors to do, to unite the people. And some of the Jewish tradition go so far as to claim that Abraham acquired a portion of his mystic knowledge from Hermes himself. That's a quote from the Kabbalion. All right. So now let's get into what the brother was about, or the philosophies of this brother that sprung forth multiple religions that got
Islam.
corrupt. Oh, Islam. Yeah, please interrupt me. And I'm flowing. Please, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's have a conversation.
I
Yeah.
have a question. I got a question. So that goes back to what Hassan was saying. Well, me and Hassan was talking about as far as like, okay, well, the preservance of knowledge. Now, I got a book. Where's this book at, man? I got a book that basically it goes back into the history of the schools of thought, right? Or they call them the mystery schools, and they list all of the mystery schools that were around and how these mystery schools would pass on knowledge and they would keep it and preserve it, and those who are worthy and who are qualified, right? We always see like a depiction in these movies to where like say for instance, if anybody ever seen Game of Thrones, when that little girl traveled all the way across such and such and she went to see the man of many faces, to where she went to learn the wisdom and how to be the girl of many faces. But she had to show her nobility. She had to prove that she was worthy enough before she could cross that threshold. So, in the aspect of us saying, well, these people were just taught wrong. Well, is it taught wrong, or is it that we were preserving this information and this knowledge until it was dutifully ready to be able to go ahead and be passed on to those who are worthy to carry that knowledge? Because like I was getting to earlier, you said in a presentation, or you showed us in a presentation in a book, I believe it's Stolen Legacy, how the brother had went in and said that we were doing the same thing in West Africa prior to European Freemasonry, where we were preserving the knowledge and we were passing it forth to those who were worthy, who could carry the knowledge and then become examples to the masses of people, or basically people who were just great studiers and philosophers. So is it so much of an attack to say that, well, these people are keeping the knowledge, they keeping the knowledge? Or is it much more of a preservance? And that also brings up a question of mine that's been deeply rooted in within myself. Should we as Moors go back into the preservance of our knowledge with knowing that at one point in time the United States is going to collapse because every empire falls? So what are we going to do about our future generations of Moors to come with the knowledge that we've been able to obtain in the age of information?
Yeah, that's what it ultimately is about. Because when you're talking about dynasties, that you're talking about just that. That means in generations, things have been passed down. When you say different dynasties, we're talking trust law. We're talking people that's competent to keep things going for thousands of years, right? So
Yes, sir.
for one, in our time frame, since we're so scattered in North America, the first level of business is to unite, mobilize, create a foundation, um, a headquarters that's connected to to housing, a school, businesses, like a storefront, just like a straight, and it's growing because the sheer fact more is just living on the premises, living on the temple. And what happens is things start growing. Now, once classic example, I always bring up what Chinatown, Koreatown, Little Bangladesh. And once we're somewhat looking like that, now it's operational to the point. Now we're talking about adept information to the point as far as what you're talking about. But we have to still give the people baseline information about their nationality and culture.
Yes, sir.
Um, that's just what we got to do as
Yes,
far as
sir.
missionary. It's the fundamental missionary work. But of course, there's levels to it as you get initiated into the science. It happens naturally. But the thing that we frown upon is the gatekeepers that are reverends, pastors, and acting like it ain't about nationality. They know the whole story, but they still getting rich
Right.
off hiding it. That's a different situation. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Uh,
sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
but yeah, but it's still if you're ready to receive, you're gonna receive, right? Even though that's going on, so that's what kind of makes it divine too. But yeah,
So
man.
is that what we leaning on too as well to say with Abraham, he was basically he had access to the mystery schools and he went and learned this divine knowledge. And so
Yeah,
he was kind of like the progenitor of not the because I'll never believe that he was the beginning of people because that's crazy because they can find people 250,000 years back.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
This is more about his principles. If his principles are the core of most Muslims, his principles are the core of most Christians, right? So
yes, sir.
we want to lay a foundation like, okay, his principles is hermetic in origin. You know what I mean? So that
Yes, sir.
means your philosophy should be that way too. It shouldn't be dogmatic.
Yes, sir.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
so this putting the story together because this is what they saying that when the Muslims traverse from Southeast Asia or no Southern Asia and then went through Africa and then come up, what they were doing. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But what we were doing is we were bringing along these Kemetic principles and teachings and philosophies, and that's what we went into Europe with and we built based off of the astrology, the geometry, the algebra, the alchemy, and things of that nature, if I'm correct.
Yep. Islam. Yep.
Okay, yes, sir.
Mm,
Okay, I'm following you. Okay, yes, sir.
yep. Because after all, that's what the compass square is. It's symbolizing all the information we know. We understand the measurement of the stars, the measurement, how to not use those measurements to navigate our chart. Or, I'm 12 degrees in Virgo. I'm 10 degrees in this. This means something. All these are just angles, compass and square. It's symbolic to you're the Gnostic, you're the Logos, you're the mastermind in having a physical experience, information wise. You understand how the world works to a scientific level, all levels. Um, all right, so Tahuti and Thoth and Tahuti and Hermes are one and the same. Most students of history and philosophy are more familiar with the name Hermes. However, we must always remember the origin of the name and let me let the brother in here. Matter of fact, let me move this out the way so when people come in, it ain't blocking. So remember the origin of the name and of its primal connection to Tahuti. So the reason we don't want to just say Hermes, because when you said Tahuti, now you're talking about, where we get the word Jew from. It's really, but it's no J, but it's Tahuti. And now we're getting into a philosophy of the original people that were referred to as Jews, Sephardic, the ones I got expelled. There are people that kept the philosophy of Tahuti and Hermes and implied it, you interfaced it with government and as a culture of people, um, that's why we can't just say Hermes. And if you just know Hermes, you don't know Tahuti, you're doing it injustice. And it chops off a whole another aspect of culture. So that's why I was going to emphasize that. So, in reference to this treatise, which is about divine and spiritual philosophy, we are addressing a primal part of that ancient Tahuti philosophy, by way of the Tahuti deity named Hermes. Keep that in mind as we advance in our future analysis of fundamental cosmology principles. So Abraham, cosmology, right? That means Abraham had cosmology principles. He understand his birth chart. He understand what that means. He understand about the elements as it relates to humans, right? Fire sign, earth sign. He understand what position to put people in to do stuff all across the board. This is what Abraham was on. This is the type of time Abraham was on. Keep in mind as we advance in our future analysis of fundamental cosmology principles that they are embodied within the true ancient religion. So, what is ancient religion, right? Which is a study of the universe. Such studies involve all the planetary ecliptical aspects connecting influences and the relative affections on human existence. So, analyzing how the influence of the planet affects human existence, understanding the relationship. That's more science as well. All this is more science. And what Abraham was about. This is what Abraham was about. Keep them so all your Muslim and Christian brothers, let them know what their forefather was really about, laying down what he was demonstrating. Upon this basis of mathematics and calculus conjoined with the philosophy of its informational dispensations come the rooted association of deity and the collective united forces of nature, concluding to the principle of monotheism, a oneness or holistic. What does holistic mean? Whole. Makes you whole. Whole is one. Holistic. One. You're one with yourself. How to put elements around you or discipline yourself in a manner to become one if you're not one at the moment. To become at peace. To become one. That's a different perspective of monotheism, huh? They weren't talking about it like that. That's the throw off. View of the cosmos or expanded application of deity or Dehuti, representing the sun deity Ra on earth. Consequently, the ancient ones were never confused about the true deity or Dehuti, and were thusly Gnostic, meaning those who have knowledge, and not mere pseudo religious believers in vague personifications of the force and their influences. The ancients knew by way of mathematical calculations the rational thinking, the moral truths, and order of the heavens as expressed through divine law or nature's law. And so Hermetic students of philosophy must be astutely clear that the contemporary religious concepts promoting the belief that the word God and the word deity are synonyms are definitely invalid and misleading. So let's talk about that. Most people say, oh, that's a deity. Oh, that's a synonym to the word God. Nope. God and deity are two different situations. Of course, literally, we know God just means to invoke, but okay, let me repackage that. When we're talking about the creator of the heavens and the earth, because we know the word God doesn't mean that. That just means to invoke, to manifest. It's not even a noun, it's an action word. So let's say the creators of the heaven and the earth and deity are not the same. Deity is a product of what the creator of the heavens and the earth manifested. Manifestations. So as a human, we're the micro of the macro. We can do the same thing that the creator of the heavens and the earth can do. Have thoughts and manifest them. And those become deities.
Islam. Okay, so if you don't mind,
Okay.
I want to rock with you. So if I'm understanding this correctly, because I've seen this video with this African brother, he was basically saying that he said there were gods in Egypt when there were never gods in Egypt, right? And he was talking about the Metu Neter, and he was saying that basically a Metu Neter is what they would call in Africa an Nthongo, right? Which would be like a sort of like a dream or like a state of mind to be in. And so what he was saying is that the so-called deities, as they call them in Egypt, are basically what we all have within ourselves, or a state of mind in which we in. So basically, what, if I'm correct by the Bible, and when it says that when God told Moses, go to your people and tell them that you are the I am, he was like, how am I going, what am I going to say for them to let them know? So basically, Abraham, who was before Moses, was Tahuti.
Talk
Not
to him.
necessarily he is Tahuti, but he is the characteristic, or in a godlike mind. That's why he's invoking and passing the word on to the children. So, in other words, when you become an Israelite, you become a noble. An Israelite is not necessarily a person. An Israelite is a state of a degree that's obtained
Talk to him.
in the in the
Talk
in the
to him,
house of
man.
the mystery school. Okay, come on with it. Come
Talk to the
on with it.
people, man. Talk to the people, man.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Islam, Benjamin Bay, Samsung. I think that's
Wow,
Kelly,
Morris.
Kelly exclusive. I think. Peace and love, everybody that came in. Hopefully, I think I greeted everybody. But yeah, so we cooking now, right? Um, so once again, the creator of the heavens and the earth has a thought and manifested the thought. Well, now we can see him. Now, like the Elohim, right? Seven Elohims are deities. The planets are deities. These are manifestations of the creator of the heavens and the earth. All right. Now, back to the microcosm. We have a thought and we manifest the thought. It's the same thing. Whether we build a cup, whether we go on a workout, it started as a thought. Now it becomes a deity. Macro, micro. As above, so below. All right. Um, the Houthi, Hermes, is also associated with high culture principles of civilization, philosophy, the love of learning, was the inventor of writing and of natural healing. Jehudi sacred or secret animals were represented by the abyss or by a baboon depicted with the head of a dog. So whoever doesn't know what the abyss is, that's just a bird. So you're gonna see him depicted in two different glyphs, so to say. Let me get y'all screens out the way here. Um, so Houthi Thoth was depicted or symbolized in Kemetan Egyptian cosmology as a man having the head of an abyss or a dog. Tahuti was also called Tahuti. Now, let us review the nature and characteristics of the Hermetic principles that corresponds to ancient Kemetan religious cosmology culture. Now we're getting into the seven Hermetic principles. Um, Back to Abraham. Oh, Islam, bro. Stay safe in there, man. Uh, so we're talking about the seven Hermetic principles. That's the philosophy of Abraham. That's the whole buildup. When we get into this, because most of our people know about the seven Hermetic principles. We'll still go over into that. We're still gonna go over it today too. But when we're going over it, when we go over the seven Hermetic principles, just keep in mind this is what Abraham was about. All right. So there are seven Hermetic principles that have been taught to the adepts of the ancient mystery schools of Egypt. These seven Hermetic principles are the basis of occultism and the keys to all phenomena. Phenomena relates to the ancient Moabite Moorish culture and school of philosophy that stands on the principle of the study of nature. Is done rightly through examining the factual information as derived from measurements and measuring and unbiased statistics. The philosophical tools anciently presented by the Moabite Moors for earth measure or geometry are symbolized by the compass and square. This symbol is archaically or anciently called isonomy or some people it depends what your dialect is, isonomy. All right, principles. Nature hides in her bosom. the greatest secrets of life. And the one who applies the instructions they give can read her like an open book. Thus, the veils or secret proofs and messages codified within the Torah, the secret truths and messages codified within the Torah, the Septuagint, the Bible, the Holy Quran, the Vedas, the Upanishads, etc., become unveiled. So all these holy books, once we get the Gnostic perspective, before it got corrupted with the symbology and the anthropomorphic, and the allegories and the Nicene Council got their hands on it and remixed it. We coming from the perspective before it was chopped up and cut. We're coming from an uncut, pure perspective before it got stepped on. And once you come from that perspective, you unite all these religions because you see they coming from a Hermetic perspective. And it becomes unveiled and reveal themselves as having origin from a common root of knowledge, namely cosmology, science, philosophy, and culture. For these texts are all derivative in some form and come down from the ancient occult teachings of the ages, the philosophies of the ancient ones. Veiled truths are sometimes relegated by the uninformed to mere contemporary misconceptions, entrusted to the contrary nature, or reflected in the commonly accepted social states of religion. This involves a definitive lack of understanding. Thus, the advent of the intellectual or spirituality-inspired condition of being blind, or referenced an existing state of spiral blindness. So, once again, once we have the clear mind, what we're dealing with, we can be better of service to our brothers, in these circles. I wanted to go through the 7 Hermetic principles from another source because I like the way it went down and how they were elaborating. So let's go back to this book, the Hermetic Reiki. Let's go back to Hermetic Reiki and let's cover the 7 laws so we can see what Abraham was taught and the principles Abraham stood for. The law of mentalism teaches that the universe and all things which we know or perceive are mental creations held within the mind of the all. The all is described by such names as God, the first cause, or the creator, and is outside of and beyond all human comprehension. Just as man creates when he forms an idea in his mind, the all creates everything in its mind. It is everything that ever was and ever will be. It cannot be created or destroyed. It cannot be deceased. It cannot be decreased or increased in substance, and it moves in and out of form at will. Consider the Australian Aboriginal expression, somewhere a dreamer is dreaming of us, or dreaming us, right? Because everything starts in the mind. I propose that, no, I'm not going to. So I'm skipping the Reiki aspect of it. I'm getting straight to the principles. But once again, y'all should get this book if y'all want to read it in its entirety.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Hermetic Reiki.
Hermetic Reiki. Okay.
So the second law, the law of correspondence, teaches the commonly recited maxim, as above, so below, as above. As above, so below, as below, so above, and as we know, as within, so without as well. This is the premise that there are many levels of existence, and that an effect on one plane is felt on many others. This is where we gain the healing principle that the root cause, which is not always immediately discernible, should be given greater importance than the symptom of the disease. If the body manifests as an ache or pain, it is more important to treat the disturbance which is operating at the higher level. An example of this is headaches, which we know appear more frequently during periods of stress and anxiety. So in this case, it's not the headache. You want to not be stressed and have anxiety. You want to be you want to put conditions around yourself or stretch or meditate to the point where you're not stressed out and have anxiety. Then you won't have the headache. That's the treatment. That is the cure. You're not treating the headache, right? So that's a philosophy that's hermetic. Okay, let's continue here. The medicinal response to headaches is to treat the symptom with aspirin or a similar remedy which acts on the physical level. However, headaches are the symptoms, not the causes. If the subject isn't relieved of the root cause, the stress, anxiety, anger, frustration, the headache will return. In this case, headaches are the physical manifestation at the lowest base level of a disturbance on a higher level. All right. So we need to get to the root on a higher level, which is not necessarily something you can touch or identify, but it will cure you on the physical plane of not having a headache. Right. I actually will get into this part with the Reiki because I feel like it'll tie a little something in about this book. So the law of correspondence also shows why Reiki through the law of mentalism is possible. The all, being by its very nature beyond all human comprehension, still encompasses all which is known or perceived. In that sense, the all is within each of us. The divine isn't something to which access is mediated by a priesthood. It's something innate in each of us. The temple of God exists in our own mind, and the doors are open to those who would dare to move them. Just as the all creates infinite universes and realities within itself for its own purposes without depleting itself, such is the manner in which Reiki practitioners aid their clients. So they're just making you stronger. Any type of outside influence, what they're really doing is letting you know how strong you are, and then you overcome on your own. So all this is related to hermetic principles. All this is related to what is religion, what is ancient culture, what is ancient religion, what is ancient culture, and this from the lens of my demonstration today was from this angle. So let's transition into. First of all, before I transition, any thoughts, statements, comments on that space before I transition? Okay. So it was something else that I wanted to talk about. There we go. Nah, wait a minute. Hmm. Wasn't that interesting? Oh, so unity. I wanted to talk about that from a lawful perspective, just by the mere definition. So when we're talking and this is the Black's Law Dictionary, just a reference, by the way. When you're looking at the definition of unity, it's going to talk about in the law of estates, the peculiar characteristic of an estate held by several in joint tenancy, unity of interest, unity of title. So why that was interesting to me, because we're talking about trust law and community and putting things, dynasties, right? Passing things down, keeping things going. All these are is unity. Our people were united and formed dynasties, formed empires. So in law, when you are unified, you're invoking the law of estates. A state, an estate is something that is for a beneficiary or for a community to get passed down. Now you can put property in that. So the title would be whatever, for example, a Moorish organization or a nation state, a clan will put property under the name of their unification, i.e., whatever the Moorish organization is called, Moorish Science Temple, Khalifa Society. It could be a small family unit, family trust. All that's a unity of title, right? With no unity, you're not dealing with estates. With no unity. Um, and back to state, because we're talking about unity. We're talking about a people that have a custom, they have a culture, they mobilize and organize amongst each other. They interface with other people that got culture, seeing what we can make happen. How can we benefit and trade with each other? These are all signifiers of unity, which is also called a state, which is also called a body politic, which can invoke the law of the states because we're dealing with trust now. Back to trust. So, what are other elements of state? The people of a state in their collective capacity. Considered as the party wronged by a criminal deed, right? So, if you injure somebody in a nation state, the heads of the state files a claim, and the claim is not just an individual, it's going to be the name of the temple or what they call a consulate or the Republic of the People, right? It's not going to be just that one person. These are signifiers of competence, even in that regard. So you injure one of our citizens, it's going to plaintiff and defendant, Moorish Science Temple, Khalifa Society, whatever body of Moors where their citizens got injured. All right, these are other aspects of looking at stuff. I'm just painting pictures in different realms so y'all can see in an ideal world how it's supposed to be. It's not really supposed to be just individualism. Also, what I wanted to show, I had something else cute. I don't know where it went. I gotta find this, man. Oh, there we go. I knew I wasn't tripping. So this is I was compelled to talk about this just so we can grasp when we're talking with people. The United States, we already covered what they were with the New England colony. But even today, when you say in the United States, that's a blanket statement. United States of what? There's the United States of Mexico. There's the United States of Venezuela, the United States of Brazil, the United States of Cuba, right? So that's why I brought up state by definition. Group of people organized, sharing the same habits and customs. That's what a state is. So that's why there's multiple states in America. Belize, Haiti, Cuba, Ecuador, these are all states. So when you say in the United States of America, that's not specific enough. And if you're saying it like that, you're talking about the United American States. For the federal government of the New England crew to do business as the United States of America, that's one thing. But what's that have to do with, we talk about international law, what will be the United States? The United States of what? Because truly, the United States of America means all the states from North America, Mexico, Central America, South America, and the islands formed a coalition and elected what? A sultan. Now you're talking about the real United States of America. That's the United States of America. And proper. Outside of that, it's like, well, United States of what? I'm traveling to the United States, right? So just other ways to look at stuff like that. Um, just from interfacing with the people, because certain things people just don't understand just basic concepts. Um, I also wanted to cover, we're talking about ancient Egypt as a teaching tool just to have in your tool belt. When we're looking up ancient Egypt, we have timelines of dynasties. Here are a couple of them. We got the pre-dynastic period. We got the early dynastic period. We got the old kingdom. We got the new kingdom. These are timelines of ancient Egypt, different dynasties, right? In ancient Egypt. Olmec civilization, 1200 to 400 BC. Let's go back to ancient Egypt. 1200 to 400 BC, that corresponds with the new kingdom of a dynasty of what they call ancient Egyptians. So that means they're calling the Olmecs the ancient Egyptians of the new kingdom. That's what they're referencing. We're not talking about over there. So I wanted to highlight that because Brother Hassan and the other brother was talking about ancient Egypt and how it's really over here. We have to keep these things in mind. This is a good repetition. So when we're talking with the people, we can show them timelines of dates. When we're talking about Nefertiti and ancient Egypt, we're talking about these dynasties, which have timelines. That, right? In these timelines, for these pyramid builders, we're talking about Mexican pyramids, Belizean pyramids, Peru pyramids. Once again, the New Kingdom period corresponds with the Olmec civilization. Now we're talking about Mesoamerica, or people that built the pyramids in Mesoamerica, which Meso means middle, the middle of America, which is Mexico, the middle or Central America, right, in between North and South America. We were building pyramids at this time. Any
Islam.
questions? Islam, you got something?
Yeah, man. I seen this one Spanish brother here. Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't have it to where I can share it, but he was doing a story recap basically off of I think it's on my Facebook. Hold on, let me see. And he was saying how the current president in Mexico, and I believe she was established in 2000, or not established, but she was brought in 2024. But he was saying that, here, I got it right here. It's a video, but I can't share it. But he was saying basically how she has now written into the constitution of the Mexican government acknowledgement and rights for Afro-Indigenous Mexicans, basically Moors, to become nations and set up their own nations. Tribal nations will be recognized in Mexico. And she also acknowledged the fact that the Afro Mexicans, is what they're calling them, Afro Indigenous, are in fact indigenous to Mexico and were there thousands of years before Columbus had arrived, that there were already dark skinned, melanated, or so called black people in Mexico. And I didn't know if we had already covered that, but I thought that was pretty dope. So when you had brought that up, I just kind of wanted to shed light on that too. That we starting to see in like just in these increments, and me just still coming into this paradigm relatively new, but just seeing how after 100 years how the work is starting to come into fruition in the results. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So that was very interesting. It blew my mind the other night when I watched it, and so I had did some research and was kind of looking at it. I think her name is like Claudia something. I forget her name, but I think she had just wrote that into the Constitution in Mexico.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit everywhere around the world. It's just, you know, uh, Aboriginal aspects of that area that people are starting to wake up, and it's starting, man. It's changing of the guard. It's happening, man. We in the midst of a change, a paradigm, man. And I'm interested to see how much we can accomplish, while we having this physical experience, man. Uh, any other thoughts before I start chapter 19, Mysteries of the Silent Brotherhood of the East? We've been flying through this book. We on chapter 19. All right, so we got Yahshua takes the sixth degree and passed the sixth adept chamber of the Eastern Sages. In all the land, there was no place more grandly furnished than the beauty parlors of the Temple of the Sun. Few students ever entered these rooms. The priest guarded them with awe and called them halls of mysteries. When Yahshua had attained the victory over fear, he gained the right to enter here. The guide led on the way, and after passing many richly furnished rooms, they reached the Hall of Harmony, and there was Yahshua left alone. Among the instruments of music was a harpsichord, and Yahshua sat in thoughtful mood inspecting it. When quietly a maiden of entrancing beauty came in the hall. She did not seem to notice Yahshua as he sat and mused so busy with his thoughts. She found her place beside the harpsichord. She touched the chords most gently, and she sang the songs of Israel. There we go, right? The songs of Israel. And Yahshua was entranced. Such beauty he had never seen. Such music he had never heard. The maiden sang her songs. She didn't seem to know that anyone was near. She went her way, and Yahshua, talking with himself, said out, "What is the meaning of this incident? I did not know that such entrancing beauty and such queen-like loveliness were ever found among the sons of men. I did not know that voice of angel ever graced a human form, or that Sapphic music ever came from human lips." For days he sat entranced. The current of his thoughts was changed. He thought of nothing but the singer and her songs. He longed to see her once again, and after days she came. She spoke and laid her hand upon his head. Her touch thrilled all his soul, and for a time forgot the work that he was sent to do. Few were the words the maiden said. She went her way, but then the heart of Yahshua had been touched. The love flame had been kindled in his soul, and he was brought to face the sorest trial of life. He could not sleep, nor could he eat. The thoughts of the maiden came. They would not go. His carnal nature called aloud for her companionship. And then he said, "Lo, I have conquered every foe, and that I have met, and I shall now be conquered by carnal love." I didn't pass all these tests, but I can't handle my carnal self. Damn. My father sent me her to show the power of love divine, that love that reaches every living thing. Shall this pure universal love be all absorbed by carnal love? Shall I forget all creatures else and lose my life in this fair maiden? Though she is the highest type of beauty, purest in love, into its very depths, his soul was stirred, and long he wrestled with this angel idol of his heart. But when the day was almost lost, his higher ego arose in might. He found himself again. And then he said, although my heart shall break, I will not fall in this my hardest task. I will be victor over carnal love. And when again the maiden came and offered him her hand and heart, he said, fair one, your very presence thrills me with delight. Your voice is benediction to my soul. My human self will fly with you and be contented in your love. But all the world is craving for a love that I have come to manifest. I must then bid you go, but we will meet again. Our ways of earth will not be cast apart. I see you in the hurrying throngs of earth as minister of love. I hear your voice in song that wins the hearts of men to better things. And then in sorry and in tears, the maiden went away, and Yahshua was alone again. Instantly, the great bells of the temple rang. The grotto blazed with light. The Hierophant or the high priest himself appeared and said, all hail triumph, Logos. Hail, the conqueror of carnal love stands on the height. And then he placed in Yahshua's hands a scroll on which was written, Love Divine. Together they passed from the grotto of the beautiful temple, and in the banquet hall a feast was served, and Yahshua was the honored guest. So he passed another test, the sixth adept chamber. It was a tough fight. The toughest fight is the carnal fight, but he was the victor. He put things in proper perspective and was able to navigate accordingly. Any thoughts on this chapter? Statements, comments?
Yeah, yeah, that was probably for that day. But you're not gonna tell me he lived 33 years and ain't getting no, you feel me? He ain't getting no your digs for 33 years? Nah, I ain't believing that. That was
Remember,
probably for that day.
hey, remember in this book, he about 12, right? Uh, in the circle 7,
Oh, he was 12. Oh, shit.
he about 11. Yeah, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, the Bible he 33. So remember, we kind of putting things together because remember, if you go straight to the Bible and we don't get this degree, we don't know that he made a tour all through Asia Major and Asia Minor,
Right, right, right.
getting getting high adept degree.
I forgot about yeah.
Yeah, they'll talk about that. They get straight to the 33 part.
Yeah, I was about to say. But E12 man, here, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. But um, yeah, anybody else have any thoughts on this space, man? Or anything we talked about so far today? So hopefully everybody got the sense of the Abraham demonstration because I wanted to emphasize that because every religious person I run into, Abraham. Like the past 2 weeks, I just felt compelled to do a demonstration on Abraham because I've been Abraham. This, do you live by Abraham? You got a fez and turban on. Are you Muslim? Do you live by the covenants of Abraham? I'm like, oh, come on, man. So I felt compelled to talk about what Abraham was really about. Um, uh, so now we can
Well,
use it
the
for demonstrations.
well, the answer to that would still be yes, correct. Just knowing where the source is. I mean, like you still believe in the Abrahamic
Right. Yeah.
path, but just
Yeah.
not in the aspect to where their degree of knowledge would stop.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
yes, yes, sir.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, so now that we are conscious of this, we can do better missionary work as far as what approach we choose to use with the people in front of us that are indoctrinated. Typically, it's either going to be Muslim or Christian. Our people are going to be either Muslim, Christian, or Catholic. So we just want to, put a different lens on what they learned in Bible study or Quran class. Um, you know, and we can do some great work now because now we're gonna open the minds of the people to another level. Now
But,
they're gonna be thirsty for knowledge. You know what I mean?
but let me ask you this though. Let's say we reveal this knowledge to we teach this knowledge to the Moorish Christians and Moorish Catholics or whatever the case may be. We teach this knowledge to them. Who's to say they don't just take this knowledge back to? I mean, what if we reignite a war back between Muslims and the Jews against Christians and Catholics, and they just more enlightened? Isn't that our mistake that we made in the beginning?
Nah.
Isn't that the same
I
damn thing?
like that. I like that question. I like that question.
Hey man, no, I feel you. Um, I don't see it happening at that like the floodgates happening like that. I feel like once again this is a divine movement. So back to the 144,000 people waking up, and they're gonna typically do honorable things. I don't see them going back to the institution that once they realize they've been played. Typically, people don't run back to the institution. They be like, "Damn, I've been played. There's more to this. There's gatekeepers." People typically get angry
Right.
with these people. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'll say that.
Oh, okay.
And when you opposed to you, you know what I'm saying? That's out of the normal. Well, for lack of a better word, out of the normal to you. It's hard to make that transition if you're not already in tune. If you already don't have the light. And a lot of our people really just don't have the light. That shit off. It ain't dim.
Yeah,
It's off.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So there is, in the perspective to what the brother was saying, there is a sense of vigilantness when we're spreading this word. And there you have to pay attention to the individual you're trying to spread this knowledge to. Because like he said, they can take that and go back to the church and apply our knowledge with what they already false teachers that they believe is real, and it'd be a whole worse thing. So he did have a good, perspective on that. We do have to be careful. Now you the floor.
Islam. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess anything is possible, but our duty is just to put it out there, man. Because most of the time, like I said, small percentages to everything, but most of the time, once you get the information that we're talking about, if they take it back to their church, they higher up's gonna be like, we ain't talking about this in our church. We ain't finna wake the people up to this. we ain't finna. We're not finna do that. It's big business right here. We got ATMs in the churches. We've been talking like this for a long time. We got private planes. We're not finna spoil that. You know what I'm saying?
That's I feel like that's true. But let's look at the history of the white man. The European, Albion, whatever you want to call them. When something become explosive, then they try to get ahead of the game. They take it and they put their damn seal on it. Look at Buffalo Wings. Who created Buffalo Wings? We did. Now all of a sudden, it's not black food or quote unquote so called black people food.
Right.
Now it's American food. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I
But that's
feel
why
that.
that's why we're saying we're not just a religious group. We're civics. It's a combination of nationality, culture, and how once you understand our culture, you're gonna see we create a religion. So it'd be different if we just saying we just promoting this. That's what separates what we're doing a little different. We're not just a religious group. You know what I mean? Um, when you come be part of this paradigm, you saying that we was Christian, we know we was all of that. But when we were all of that, it was from a Gnostic perspective. On top of the fact you looking to join forces with our people because you're looking around at other people that know their culture, you see how they getting down. We were trying to create that atmosphere as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just like religion. Come on about this. Like you gotta be active when you come over here. It ain't just about sitting and listening to some, you know what I mean? You want to get the info, but you also want to galvanize with your people, right? Um, so that's an economical aspect, civic aspect. It's a lot to the more science, man. So um everybody I talk to, either they know about this from a handicap perspective or their mind is blown.
Yeah.
And they're like, damn, I didn't even know this existed. Like, and I've been doing this for a couple of years now, man. Like it's just, you know, it's either they're in the dark and they constantly misleading people. Cause we had some Eastern Stars when we set up at that Long Beach. This old lady was trying to give us pork, and you want some of this, and like, have you heard of Malcolm X? How'd you feel about that movie? Like, just obnoxious stuff. Like, I know she was sent. Like, you know what I'm saying? You get stuff like that too, right? But if you if you in a higher vibration, you see this stuff coming. Like, you know what I mean? You see the energies. So you get some of that. I ain't gonna say you don't get some of that. You know, it's agents out there. It is what it is. It's been agents. But for the most part, when people get this information, you're gonna be able to discern where they at with it. Either they mind blown or they heard about this in a different light and they didn't know it was an international movement how it was. They thought it was just church. Those are the two things. Or you get people that are cultured that know about our history. They know about the sultans over here. They know about all that, right? So it's kind of in that space. You know what I mean? So
Can I say something, Muffy?
oh yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was raised Catholic until about like the ninth grade. But in between that time, I used to have just questions like the priest wouldn't answer, or he would never give a straight answer to. It's like they kind of just repeat the same story over and over, but they never apply any of the stories to real life or our current situation that all the people in my class is dealing with. We all brown. We got certain perspectives on life, and he ain't got the answers to it. And it's like, well, why he ain't got the answers? We're like, well, because he keep just repeating the book. And then it's like, well, if we found out that we were Muslims, and at this time that they're sharing this information, they started this 15, 20-year war in the Middle East simultaneously. So it's like, I'm seeing the connections on that. So it's like, once you get into this information, you might be even afraid to even make that next jump, because you're like, nah, they associate that with terrorism or just that type of thinking as the Muslims. I think if you found out that this is what your proper religion, or this is the people you're supposed to be learning from, it's like, nah, I can't do that. They already classify. I grew up with the terrorism idea, and they brainwash into that idea to where they'll never look into it because they assume that's what it encompasses. Or if we go back to that, then that's going to be put on us. And that's where I think they set us up at, is to when we get super knowledgeable, they'll say, well, no, they like the ones over there in the Middle East. That's what they got. No, that ain't it. And that's why I think, like, even what you said is like making it sure and clear that it's not just this, it's civics and everything else above. And that's what the church does not have. They kind of just repeat the same stories, but nothing is applicable to the people that come in there with real life problems. Yo, I'm struggling. Well, what do I need to do to set up the money? You need to pray. It's like, no, you need to set up a trust. You need to learn how money works and this whole system works. And it's like, oh, shit. Yeah, I would do that too if I wanted everybody to come in Sunday to give me money. It's like, but that's not giving out the free, the game that it should be free, and it's just like, well, why isn't it? Because they taking your spot on that magic school bus, it's just like, that's how I seen it. But even just connecting with y'all, it just gave me, a more in-depth perspective of what's been going on and where it needs to go.
Islam. And to add on to that, y'all need to check out The Godfather of Harlem.
Okay.
Pernell Whitaker playing Bumpy Johnson. Malcolm X is in there, or El Hodge. El Hodge beefing with Elijah Muhammad. What he beefing over him? Why? Because they not active. He want them. He be like, man, you talking all this stuff about the white man, but is it just a show? Elijah Muhammad said, "Are you gonna disobey me? Do you want to be part of the Nation of Islam?" And then the cameraman showed the front of the Nation of Islam, but went up to the roof. It was this big compass in the square on top of the Nation of Islam mosque. Now this is the movie. They giving you the signs and the symbols. They telling you, like, look, man, he's one of the gate. You know what I'm saying? So my point is, they don't want to be active. That's why I tell you, they're not going to take this information and do nothing with it. As a matter of fact, if they take it to the higher ups, they're going to give their that believer, you better leave that stuff alone. That's the devil. We ain't talking about this up in here, because that's going to promote people to be active and civic and really, like El Hodge said to it was the congressman was talking to J. Edgar Hoover, and he was like, man, what's the problem? Why you tripping on? Why you tapping Malcolm X? Why you tapping his house? Why you tapping his office in the mosque? What are you doing? He just a religious guy. He was like, he got solutions to the real problems, and we can't have that. This is J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same position today. They want to sit back and get rich. They're not really trying to solve problems. So when we put out this information, we want the people to run to us. We want to crumble these institutions, and it ain't gonna happen just like that. We just need a few good men, right? No pun intended. We just need a few good men. We don't need to save the world, like, you know what I mean, to do some great work. We just want to be a beacon light where we're putting out information. Those who are ready to receive it, they're gonna gravitate to this paradigm. Oh man, I like what Khalifa Society doing. I never okay. That's what we want. That's what we want. That's it.
Yeah.
If they ain't vibrating, they ain't vibrating. But as the years go on, we're gonna continue to grow. Right? So that's all we can really do, you know. We're gonna see stuff that, you know, on the journey, we gonna just see some stuff that gonna blow our mind and all that. It is what it is. Like, it's the nature. We're gonna see some crazy stuff. But this is a beautiful conversation. I like what the Solemn Brotherhood of the East inspires. There's a convo right now, man. Any other thoughts, statements on this space?
And it seems like we all stem from some type of origin with one of these schools of thoughts, and then come to the conclusion like there's no movement, there's no results, man. So it's kind of like I like that you said that because that was one of my main movements and backbones that was pushing me to do what I was doing. I was wondering why aren't the Prince Hall Masons, the Moors, the Hebrew Israelites, the Moorish Christians, excuse me, why aren't they coming together in 365 days out the way? Okay, I get it. I've learned about Jesus. You've Jesus me to death since I was 12 years old. Now I'm grown, and these are the same stories between each masjid, each church, each whatever the case may be. In some small light, I still see some form of unity. But I understand, it took me to come into this paradigm to understand like it has to happen underneath, like Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, through divine movement. You know what I mean? As a collective, as a oneness. But that's one of the things that bored me. It was like we ain't getting nowhere. You know, we ain't fighting. We ain't shut down not no liquor store. We ain't shut down not no nothing. The Arabs, they come in here. Like when I go to masjid and go make salat, I start for the law, but the Arabs come in here and make salat and go right back outside to the corner, back to that smoke shop, selling my people these glass pipes, the paraphernalia to get high, and the alcohol. But we ain't doing nothing. But then through the history of the United States, you see people like the mob has so much. What the mob really built the United States at one point. They was really in control of it. The federal government didn't even have control of this whole system. The mob was controlling it. You know what I mean? Then you look at the cartel, what the Mexicans got. But then you look at our people, you know what I'm saying? I think the closest we got was what, Big Meech. But other than that, they be knocking our legs from underneath us. They not letting us nowhere near no type of power with the leaders that we got now. You know what I'm saying? It's just a bunch of it's a bunch of circus shit. That shit get tiring. You know what I'm saying? So even like when I
Yeah.
told you, or when I told the brothers earlier, like where I come from, I come out of the Prince Hall Masonic Lodge. It ain't no movement in there. I was in that mud like, okay, I get it. We meet, but nigga, what's the next step? Like we ain't doing nothing. We ain't learning nothing. You ain't teaching me nothing. We coming here doing the same shit. What's the next step? What's our? I'm looking. We in the heart of South Phoenix on the south side. This is my hometown, and we ain't doing nothing. And so, man, it just I wasn't learning nothing. Nobody had no thirst for knowledge. It was like we just sitting here, and it was basically like it was just like religion. It was a waste of my time. I'm not going. Nah, I can't keep doing this. I need to be a part of something that's real and that's breathing something back to my people. Because
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a part of that group that's just taking. I can't do it. I can't
Yeah,
do
man.
it.
And then and now that we on this wave, I'm glad we're talking about this. So, like, back to the few good men and women. Now it's time to start investing with each other. Now, what I mean by that is, for example, Me, Larry Bay, and 9L, we are about to start a cell salt business, right? So maybe me, you, Hanuna Hassan, a couple months started a business. You know what I mean? It's about getting some economics going with like I say, we ain't trying to say the world, but the people that we do got that is tapped in, that like what we're doing, it's time to start doing business with each other. That's what this kind of leads to, the economic side. Let's manifest some stuff together. Let's you know what I mean? We can start off small just to get a good feeling amongst us. The little small businesses. Let's just put something together. Put a product out. You know what I mean? Let's invest, to manifest something, right? Um, with the community. So now we got a rapport. We learning the information, but we're doing business with each other. We're building the brotherhood and the clan. You know what I'm saying? Um, so that's just things I want to put out there. And just being active. The reason I like doing like events, like we got matter of fact, let me close out in prayer real quick, and then I'll talk about all that. Close out the meeting real quick before I get so excited. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. Islam. Let me stop the meeting. Stop the recording.